That's why things probably go haywire. I think people initially come into things with the right thing, and it's just like even music. Like I was like, man, I want to be like this, and it was like this romantic thing, and all of a sudden, like, man, you're amazing, or like, wow, you end up with girls and like cheating on your girlfriend and all these things. It's easy to say it until it like happens to you. You know, and come on, a lot of people have fallen wayside to it.
Oh,
And recovered is, that's the one thing we don't talk about. We talk about it and it's kind of like, yeah, and he died. And I was like, no, man, it's like it could kill you.
yeah.
Music could kill you. And it has. It
Yeah.
has killed people.
Yeah. So you joined Soul Asylum, and you were also
and that lasted for 4 years. And because I joined Soul Asylum, David calls me just as I'm joining, and he's about to do the outside tour.
Shit.
And I already committed.
Yeah.
But I said, but there's Zach Alford, and Zach was, oh man. I mean, it's incredible. It's a great story. Zach, and I mean, just all the guys that I came up with. Everybody's still doing it,
Yeah.
And it was amazing camaraderie, especially with the drummers.
Drummers always have that.
Especially with the drummers.
Always drummers. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I don't know why it is. I mean, you're a drummer. You should know. But I mean, I'm a bass player.
I spoke to Will Calhoun. I remember going to see In Living Color, like before they became, at Danceteria. And it's like, wow, we go that far back,
Yeah. But is it a different headset being in a band than like coming in like as a sideman? Did you find it was different for you, or did you just like it's still music?
I mean, I would have loved to have been in the band, I mean, that was really, I love band drummers, probably the best.
Right, yeah.
Because, especially back, if you're the Rolling Stones, it's a sound, and Charlie Watts plays a certain way. Earth, Wind & Fire had a certain sound to them, and the way Freddie White played the drums, who I would say is one of the most underrated drummers.
Absolutely,
One of the most underrated drummers. He played in so many amazing songs, and, I just love band drummers.
Yeah.
And then I really started tripping on like all like kind of the post-punk bands, because it was different. The fact that it was just like a foreign thing. So I saw Simple Minds in '82. To me, another underrated band. I mean, they got their play, but they were just, as a band, they were really, those early '80 records were really, really cool.
Really cool, yeah. And with particular sound as well that was theirs.
Yeah.
So how are you getting on with the whole lockdown thing? I mean, obviously, apart from being outside, I mean, musically, is it?
I got a nice setup at home, and like I said, I'm always fascinated by things. Like I'm a bit of a tinkerer / turning into, I got, I even like working with Brian and David. I mean, I can pull some of those tricks. I got to work. I got to watch it not exist, and it exists, and like, oh, and also and be able to run with them. So like I never kind of stopped loving and being fascinated with music. I watch a lot of documentaries. I have a subscription with Mix with the Masters, so I'm fascinated by sound and like how these guys go about like carving out their sound, and there's all these little tricks, and you got a computer, you can do a lot, if that's your bag, and it's definitely my bag. I just love that stuff. And, there's days where it's like, just end already.
Yeah.
But most of the times I try to keep myself busy, like, and not get atrophied. And I'm kind of, I don't know how long it's going to go, because I have a place where I have my drums, and I haven't been down there because I just don't feel like taking a train, and I've been like kind of procrastinating, but maybe I'm just saving it for the summer. I'm going to get my bike fixed and then just start going down to the studio. And exploring that again.
Yeah.
We've been hanging in there. I mean, New York is very resilient. I think all the major cities have been through stuff throughout the years. You go through the shock of it.
Yeah.
And you know, but people, from what I've seen, people are just kind of going about their business. You know, they're just doing it with a mask on and some gel, some Pharrells. And
So I'm going to ask you a difficult question now, which everyone's like, oh, you can't ask me that. If you had to pick 3 tunes that stand out for you that you've played on, 3 songs, could be for any reason, what might they be?
there was a track called "Serious" by Duran that I thought was a brilliant freaking song. I really, really liked that song. With David, like there was this track, because I think it's always like, I love, you can go back to David's music and it just always seems timely, but he had a song on Heathen called Slow Burn that I really, 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 really liked. And when I listened to the lyrics, like, wow, he was already thinking about it, you know, where things were going. And I would say Runaway Train by Soul Asylum, because it was the first time, like, it was just like, wow, I kind of managed, you know, that's hard to jump from an era, you
From
know?
that, yeah,
Because I was,
totally.
you know, because I was definitely playing very 80s and, you know, flacka da 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 da, you know, and then I had to, like, kind of, you know, when I heard David Grohl, I was like, oh, shit, this is different.
These are totally different, yeah.
This is different. I can't play whatever I was doing.
I can't play that, yeah.
Get rid of the shoulder pads and freaking not play like.
Yeah.
But even though Runaway Train was like, it's a very kind of. I mean, chose that one because it was a huge hit and it was, you know, and it had special meaning, you know, and it really worked as a video and everything. And like I said, it was in my introduction into like this whole other world, because by being in Soul Asylum, I was all of a sudden around all this, you know, I was around Wilco, I was around the Midwest thing, I was around the replacement, and all of a sudden, like, I had a whole new thing to, like, wow, I didn't even know all this stuff was going on,
yeah,
you
like
know?
replacements, Husker Du, all these guys, just
And also, most importantly, culturally, it was like wow, I didn't even know this, you know. I think I, you know, definitely had like a bit of a New York City snob thing, and then I go into this thing and I'm like, wow, this is amazing, you know. The people are great. I had a really good time with the band, and like being in that, you know, being in Minneapolis and in the Chicago, whatever, I'm around that Midwest scene, and it was fantastic. And I got to be around, you know, all that was happening at that time. So it was, you know, I crossed paths with Hole and, you know, and whatever it was like. I never got to see, Nirvana, but I was like, at least kind of in the vicinity of it, just to be around it, like, oh, wow, you know?
yeah.
But I was never like a person that like jumped in cliques at all. Not in school, not in high school. To me, it was just like, wow, what's that? And I would just walk into it, you know? That's why I said I always kind of faked it. I was never really committed. You know, like I hung out with punk rockers. I hung out with freaking people, hippies who were listening to Grateful Dead. And this is like, I'm still like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, what is this? Yeah.
Like, why are you all dressed that way? It's just more naive. But it was fun because it's like a little adventure, you know? And I have to say, like, my musical career has been just like this, you know, adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. Cross genre and styles adventure, you know.
Yeah.
So like, just finally, the sort of human rights advocate. So just tell me about that, because that is so. I mean, most people have an opinion of musicians. They just make music. They're all drunk. They don't give a shit. Whereas you've got a different story here.
I mean, I'll try to make it quick, you know. So I go in. It's almost like I go into the filtering system. I get in the music business. Cyndi Lauper, you know. I go in, and then that was like a 10-year cycle, and at some point, things went wrong in my life. Drugs, alcohol, blah blah blah. You know, I didn't know who the hell I was anymore at that point. You know, I jumped into it. I went through the whole thing. I watched it from the beginning. Like I said, I got even to the rave scene. All of a sudden, I'm like dropping E and blah 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 and blow and and I'm losing my freaking mind. You know, you going from a kid who did nothing into like blah blah. You know, I'm smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol. I mean, it's just my daily norm. You know, I obviously was losing. I was losing it. And, you know, I tried things, and I eventually like told Soul Asylum I wanted to go, and it was just, I needed to find myself again.
Yeah.
And so I got home and I went for what she saw in Central Park. I mean, not Central Park, Riverside Park. I saw these people practicing this meditation called Falun Gong. And I just started asking questions. Like, what's this? La, la, la. And I just kept trying, asking questions. And next thing I know, I'm doing it.
Right.
And it was from China. It was introduced to China in 92, made public, and then it spread like wildfire. Like they did a census and it was like 80 to 100 million people.
Wow.
China don't like that.
No.
And then just not, they need the control. And people within the party were practicing, and military, everything. It just went across the board, So they were really worse. So they had to crack down on it, and they demonized it to the rest of the world. And everything that comes in out of China is through them. So whatever they put out. So, we basically had to clear what was happening, is that they were like, it was a human rights issue. So I got asked one time to go to China.
Right.
Would you be interested in going to China to protest? And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I just but there was something in my heart that I just felt it was the right thing to do.
Right, okay.
So, lo and behold, I'm in Tiananmen Square, the same place where all that stuff went down, and cars pulling up on me from out of nowhere. They took me into custody. They beat me.
Shit.
And I held my ground. It was an amazing, should have been like the most horrible experience. There was this incredible sense of like feeling right and wanting to do right. And by that all happening, it was incredible. I was starting to get feedback from the policemen, like telling me like, I'm really sorry about this.
Oh, wow.
Like texting me.
Shit.
And, even one of the guys that beat me, I got him in a conversation, and even he was like, I hate my job, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty amazing. I said, well, you beat me up and blah, 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 this. And I don't know, there was something that happened. I can't explain to you, but it was an incredible experience. Like I said, what it should have been a horrible, worst thing that happened to me was the most incredible thing. And then on top of it, I come back a week later and do a Tibet Freedom House with David at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah. Amazing.
I went from that, and within a week's time, I was in custody, been beaten by these guys, and I ended up doing a show with David, with Philip Glass, and Adam Yout was on bass, and the Cronus Quartet. It was crazy. It was
wow. That's amazing. And maybe that goes back to I'm not going to psychoanalyze you, maybe that's your spirit of being inquisitive. It's like, what's all this about? It's like, what are these hippies about? What's this about? I'll have a look at this. And then with the whole Falun Gang thing, it's like, well, you're going to pest them. What's this about? What are you doing? Because you want to find out. But I mean, that's an amazing story to be brave enough to go out your comfort zone, to go, okay, I'll go to China. Because
honestly, man, at that point, I've been practicing over a year. And even to that point, when I was practicing, I was amazed that they were allowing that, because I always thought, like, I kept thinking Tiananmen Square, like, oppression, all this stuff, I didn't even, I was surprised that they were being open about it. But then they did, and it was harsh. It was stuff they were doing, man. Like, it was pretty dark. Pretty dark. And what compelled me to do it, I can't tell you. Like, I just felt something come over me, and like, I just wanted to stand with them, because I was hearing amazing stories coming out of China. See, listen, I got out, but I'm not Chinese. These people were basically going into the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
And some of them died.
Yeah.
Badly.
Yeah.
Like, torture beyond, that you can possibly imagine. And you're not getting that story because they control what comes in and out of it.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was also like, how people get compelled by somebody, these are the stories I was reading. So I was definitely compelled by it. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. Like, I'm not gonna I'm gonna be brave and all this. Just something came over to make me go.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had no idea what I was going to do. There was a group of Westerners that went earlier, and some people unfurled a banner and on Tiananmen Square. I had no idea what I was going to do. It's just like I took it as it came, you know, and I ended up in the Tiananmen Square Police Department, and you can just feel it, man. Like, what has gone down in this place? And I was watching like people being dragged, like girls being dragged by their heads, and I don't know. I just felt this. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel fear.
Wow.
And I was able, I don't know, like part of the practice, like you're trying to let go of all your attachments, your emotional attachments, you know, which is really hard. I think it was easier for me to be there because I didn't know anybody there. When I'm home, I know I got family, I got friends, love, like, you know, but over there, I had nothing. So I just went there with, I just had an ease to it. Like I just didn't, and I can't tell you why. It just something came over me to go and compelled me to go, and feel like I was going to be all right with it. And it was incredible the things that were happening because they do play like crazy mind games. You know, like the dudes beat me up, and then like and then they would show up in the room with like some food, but there's a camera behind the dude.
Right. Okay.
And it was like no, and I was like no, you know. They were doing stuff, putting us in the room, and filling it up with police officers, and like there's no windows, anything, and smoking cigarettes and giving you this like really like it was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was like I was thinking two different things. I'm looking, you know, the dudes asking me for my passport, and he's like, "Where's your papers?" And it's like, God, I'm thinking, is this like a Nazi? You know, like in my head, there's two things going on. It's like this is like I'm in a Nazi film. I'm in like 1930s like Germany. It was hard to like balance it was almost like I was watching it happen.
Right. Okay. Yeah. As opposed to you actually, you're watching yourself being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
But how amazing to then, a week later, you're out and you're on stage with the Free Tibet concert. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like you've got back home, but with much more of an insight into why this needs to be done.
Yeah, it was a deep learning on a lot of levels too, because you know, you can do something like I think one of the lessons I learned when I came home, and it's like, yeah, it's almost like there was a part of me like, and I was fighting it, like I was feeling like, you know, I did that good, you know, and it's like, no, that when I got home, it kind of went haywire because I wasn't focused anymore. It's a very narrow path to walk because you can't get all, you know, you can't get complacent about it, you know, and that was like the biggest thing, like, whoa, that you can't play around with these things. This is a very powerful art, you know, and it's. I think that's why things probably go haywire. I think people initially come into things with the right thing, and it's just like even music. Like I was like, oh man, I want to be like this, and it was like this romantic thing, and all of a sudden, like, man, you're amazing, or like, wow, you know, you end up with girls and like cheating on your girlfriend and all these things. You know, it's easy to say it until it like happens to you. You know, and you know, come on, a lot of people have fallen wayside to it. And recovered is, you know, that's the one thing we don't talk about. We talk about it and it's kind of like, yeah, and he died. And I was like, no, man, it's like it could kill you.
Yeah.
Music could kill you. And it has. It has killed people.
Yeah.
You're introduced, like, I didn't do anything. And then I remember, like, you know, like some alluring thing, you know, you had a freak. I remember, I'll never forget it. Just being at the club, you're getting played, you did this show, people are impressed, people are like, well, hey, you want to do some blow? Like, I never tried this with it. Oh, whoa. Now I know what those dudes were like freaking
I know why they were so excited and nice to me.
It's a trip, man. And it was a time and place, man. That's how I think it must happen, because if not, the Renaissance period would have kept going, you know?
Yeah.
I think it reached its, you know, you had this thing called rock and roll. You know, we just lost Little Richard, you know, this thing starts, and then it's like this freaking like snowball effect, and then it just reaches this height, and then it tails off. At least rock and roll. I mean,
yeah.
But obviously, if the Rolling Stones are still playing and they can headline young people's festivals, you know, you got to go, well, is it about the potency of the music?
It's got to be. But I got to tell you, just quickly, a funny thing about the Stones. Did a couple of gigs with them last year in the UK at these huge stadiums, and there's a bit where Mick introduces all the bands, so they all do their thing, and he says, "Legend," and we did 2 nights back to back, so I knew the second night what Charlie was going to do, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, he needs no introduction, Charlie Watts." Bear in mind, everyone else has run down the walkway and played solos and done all this. Charlie just gets up from his drums, goes like this, and sits back down.
He's my favorite. If I had a favorite rock star, he's my favorite.
He is the most rock star. That's why we love him.
He's my favorite.
Yeah.
Everybody. If I had to have like a favorite of a person,
yeah,
David too, but Charlie is just, I love him so much, and I love everything he's done. I mean, you have to come up with that stuff. Whether people like everybody has this thing about music, he's not freaking Steve Gadd. It's what he freaking does to that music. Nobody else will be able to play that music ever. You can say whatever you want. It'll never sound like that.
Yeah. And obviously everyone's been themselves, but even down to the thing where he always leaves the hole in the hi-hat when he hits the snare.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, because it's cool.
It's the coolest freaking thing that he came up with that. And that was funny. Even like they had that whole thing on a couple of weeks ago, and Charlie got the most play. He was like, man, like he was air drumming. It's like that.
Yeah, I love that. That's him being him, isn't it? He hasn't even got a drum kit at home. He's just like...
That's how cool it is, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, quick after that, so after I got back with David, and then I was working with the Bees at the same time. Right. So it was like I had to, funny enough, those 2 records I did, I ended up working with the Bees again. And then after 2003, after the reality tour, I've been with the Bees ever since, the B-52s. Since 2007, something like that.
That's fantastic.
And that's been great. I mean, they're another unique band.
Oh, totally. Again, it's that post-punk, that sort of Athens, Georgia. It's out of the way. We can do what we want. We'll draw this, we'll draw that, and let's make.
And
some
the crazy thing, like, watch them in the studio to like when they're putting the songs together. It's like this doesn't make any sense. I don't know how you guys are coming out. The way they bounce off of each other it's mind blowing. Mm-hmm. It's so incredible to watch because you don't think that's the result. Like when they start doing their thing, because Keith was like the facilitator of the music, and then Kredd, Kate, and Cyndi would just like bounce off of each other with these ideas, and it's like instant magic.
Yeah. That's amazing, that dynamic of how minds just come together, particularly because they've been doing it for so long. But they probably kept that thing they had when they were kids, when they first. Well, we don't know what we're doing.
It's like David. It's either there or it's not.
Yeah.
That's who they are and their personalities. Yeah. That's how they bounce off of. You do one thing and David goes, yeah, do that. Yeah, oh, yeah, that's cool. There's been a lot of times where David, like, I think when I started the Black Tie White Noise thing, I thought we were getting drum sounds. And they played the song, and okay, let's see what it sounds, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, man, great, thanks.
That's the take.
And it wasn't like it's not about me like, well, I did it in one take. It's just that he could just take source material and turn it into whatever he wants. He obviously knows something that I don't, I don't know if it was I don't think it was something I was special I did. I just think that him and Brian have this incredible, uncanny way to take anything and make it into something.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's to me from what I've watched and because I was fortunate in a couple of records with David where I got to go a little further, where I didn't just come and do my drums and then I just left, where I just hang around and watch him do stuff, man. And it's just like, we could be on something completely like subject matter wise, and then he'll be on eBay. I remember him being like on eBay, and then it's just like okay, wait, no, and then he'll go in to sing it all the way through, double it, and start adding harmonies, and it's like wow, it's like it's like following the just add milk, 2 tablespoons of this, and it's like instant Bowie.
Yeah, amazing.
And it's incredible to watch.
Wow.
It's very, that's the thing. He, those Prince, Prodigy, David, Prodigy. James Brown, Prodigy.
Yeah.
Michael, Prodigy. These people were prodigious. They were like, what? Wait.
Yeah. How much music?
Quick to the gun, quick to it, like bang, bang, bang. Okay, no, you know, like,
Yeah.
give me the guitar. Yeah. Drum machine, okay, let me put it through the pedals.
Mix it. Done. Print it.
Wrecking Crew, bang, bang, bang. You lost that what? You lost that loving feeling. Okay, let's go. One. Yo, don't look. I mean, that's how those dudes were rolling, man. That's like I said, I think that happens once in a lifetime, man. Just like the Renaissance, that whatever that was, that happened at that time, and it tailed off, Baroque, whatever period things come. And it has to do with, you know, like the Beatles, probably like the longing of like, okay, this is black dude called Little Richard, you know, and the only way I can get the record is from some sailor dude. And I have to wait until it comes, and there's this longing for it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go play in Hamburg, where the kids' parents were freaking giving the Nazis salute.
I know.
I mean, that mindset that you have to, like, what's taking place.
Yeah.
Like, imagine Hamburg, 19 whatever, 60s, whatever when they were playing, and what's in those teenagers' heads.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
That's only 15 years.
Yeah. I know. It's basically your parents. It's not even 2 generations away. It's your parents.
Yeah. Like what were you thinking of, Marathon? You know, and you're coming from, like, you know, where. I mean, he's like David doing the record in Berlin. I was fortunate to go to Berlin at that time. You know, like, and it had, you know, it was another place.
Yeah.
And the checkpoint chart, all those things I think play into, you know, how things are going to come out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be exciting. I mean, there's definitely excitement. Like, there's people at home right now who do have their laptops, and now you got this. This is, you know, this is their World War II. Yeah. And let's see what happens.
Well, some amazing music could come out of it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, particularly with the speed of almost zero latency, where people can actually interact with each other, as opposed to just like, I'm making music on my own. They can actually almost play together in real time.
I mean, I hear stuff like kids, I'm like, what? How did you figure that out?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they got everything now. Like, everything is there for them to get. And also, like, a lot of these kids are going to probably come out with, all the kids are playing video games, like, because we don't hear, but their soundtrack is the video game music.
Yeah.
And that stuff is not simple.
No.
It's very intricate stuff, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next generation will do, because now you have an environment where it's like, okay, you know, World War II was a huge environment for the Beatles to happen, you know, because technology took another level. All the radar guys had to have something to do, so they create mics and boards.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what
comes after. Yeah, when you know we're released from this, what people have been. Yeah, that's a really positive way to think about it. Actually, you know, it's like, what can come out of this situation, and the freedom to be, even though we're restricted in our movement to some degree, the freedom to be creative.
Well, like I said, for what I've seen, you know, all my friends' kids, my stepson, they're doing stuff like, you know, my stepkid is writing like classical pieces. Like, I was like, what is that? I thought it was like something. And he's like, but because they're so exposed to like anything, they're exposed to anything.
Yeah.
You can go online. I mean, there's some people who are going to figure it out and like put it all together and create a whole another thing, you know. I mean, you know, you got kids on modulars. You got, you know, so it's you know, I'm you know, I want to be optimistic like that. You know, I think, you know, this kind of stuff brings that out.
Yeah,
to people.
Of course it does. Yeah, and also one of the beautiful things about it is as well, people are listening to. I mean, I know people listen to music anyway, but people are listening to more and engaging with more music on a level like you did when you was a kid, and I was a kid when you're like, what is this? Because we're not running around, because you and I had less to do, so when we got came across music that blew our minds. We're like, what is this? Whereas like prior to lockdown, everyone's running around, being like so super busy, and now it's like pause, starting to listen to stuff, and you're going, what is this?
Yeah.
Having that time to really get inside things, you know.
And it's a weird thing, is because it's almost like the opposite, because before it was the scarcity of it. You had 4 channels, you know.
Yeah.
I was listening to this video with Ken Scott, and he was talking about kind of coming up. You only had a very limited thing, and you would have to wait on Saturday for to play this one thing, and all the other times you have to listen to all this other stuff. But all that other stuff starts ending up in your, you know, like with the Beatles, like, oh, so let's put strings on it, you know, like, because they were growing, they had the classical stations, that's all you had.
Yeah.
You had a pop station once a week, and it's like, wow, that's fascinating, you know?
Yeah.
And also, like, once again, you got this thing on the other side of the pond of this, you know, these guys like from, you know, I know Brian was like very fascinated by doo-wop, like, and, you know, that's something completely different from his way of growing up. And it just seems like this haunting sound, and it's in like echoey kind of sound, and like how it's the same way I felt when I was listening to English music.
Right.
Whatever, how English thought about America is the same way I felt about, you know, there was like this super romantic foreign thing in this land that I wanted to go to, you know.
Wicked.
And it was like, it was very naive, because I grew up watching World War II footage. You know, it's like cobblestone streets, and it was always raining.
Yeah. Well, I remember
I want to go there.
First time I got off a tour bus in New York, 4:00 in the morning. It was on, I can't remember, but it was right in Manhattan. And you get off the tour bus at 4:00 in the morning. There's the yellow taxis, and you look up and you go, it's just like the films.
Yeah.
No shit, because that's where it's been filmed.
And then depending on the time frame, you know, I mean, I think it was one of the reasons why the Joker went down so well. It's like, that's what I grew up in. Stop-wise. I mean, the setting was like the perfect setting for like to do that character.
Yeah.
And even though it was weird because I was so naive, not I wouldn't say naive. I was like a smeller of the flowers. To me, that was romantic. To get downtown was enough. Like, wow, to get to Midtown Manhattan, that was a romantic notion for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, and I would, you know, I remember going and being around 42nd. It's like, wow, that's the swamp, you know, that you go through.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember going to the movies on 42nd Street at that time, and you had everything. You had the sex movies, but you had like all the kung fu films. And I was like kind of a, you know, because like I said, everything was scarcity. You didn't have all those things, so that I think generates that longing.
Yeah, of course.
You know, if you had only 4 tracks, and you had to figure out how to make that work, that's where it got deep. You had to really use everything, you know, and technically and musically and how to make that work, you know. So now you got everything.
Yeah.
And now you have to take it's funny because still, like, even do you have everything, most of the music is very minimal.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting thing because you have everything. You have every plugin, you have every EQ, you have every kind of compressor. You got compressors going into like delays, and you know, you can processing power. You can go and get, oh, you want that sample? You know, hey, let me get a 1960s Howell playing snare drum sound. You can go to shop for that.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Hey, I want the Beatles drum sound. Okay, yeah, that's a crazy, you know. So you have to spend your time to like undo things as opposed to before, you know. You had very limited resources.
Yeah. But I guess it still boils down to, really, it's a great idea to start with. And then everything else is just where you want to take it.
Yeah.
You know, for all the people you work with, you know, particularly like if we go like Visconti and Nile Rodgers and Brian Eno working with Bowie, it's like, okay, at the heart of all of that, it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
It may be worked on in different ways, but you know, the Beastie Boys, even Cyndi Lauper and Soul Asylum and all these sort of things that were floating around and coming in and out.
I mean, it's weird. It's interesting when you see documentaries because it's almost like seeing a Western set sometimes because it's this flat thing, but like the depth of it, the feeling. Well, you know, the day in and day out. Like I said, like my band was coming up, and you know, we do our gigs, and we're learning and everything. And you know, you're going in one direction, and then we're packing up, and we were playing these haunts like this place, the Ritz, which was like if there was like you go CB's, Ritz, Palladium, Beacon Theater, Radio City. And this literally, all these bands were doing that. The Police, they were going from CBGBs and they just kept going up, and then they ended up in, you know, giant stadium.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to the Ritz level, and you know, you're doing your thing and blah blah blah, and you're packing up, and there's the dudes are playing the music, and they're playing what's happening. You know, obviously the DJs who knew what was going on, and I never forget hearing Once in a Lifetime for the first time, blasting out the speakers, and it's just one of those things. Okay, I'm going this way, and this thing comes, and it just like boop.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, same thing with the Bowie thing. I'm going this way, and then like chance meeting. Here's this ticket. Here's this music,
amazing.
and it was really like, you can do that. You know, you go like you can do. You know, it was real. I would never want to lose that. I try to keep onto that childlike thing. Like you can take your toys and you can start cross pollinating them and doing all this stuff. That's what it was like. Because basically, another genius thing with David, Dennis, Carlos Alomar, and George Murray was basically, it's like the Spiders from Harlem.
Yeah.
They had no idea. They had this European aesthetic and what Brian and David was doing. They had their own thing, and David would just let it happen. And like, once again, and just this is from my record, because of course I was with Dennis until he passed away, and he was just telling me, it's like I don't know what it was about, but I liked it. You know, like even when Brian was coming at them, they were kind of like, what, you know. And if you listen to like even a track like Heroes, it's a Motown song.
Yeah.
Doom, 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 doom. If you just take all that other stuff away, it's a Motown song.
Yeah.
You know, and the genius of David and Visconti and Eno doing what they, you know, the stuff they put under it. But overall, it's a Motown song.
It's a Motown song, yeah. Of course it is.
You know? And David to have like that, who knew, like how'd you pick that, you know?
Yeah,
like how, and that seems to be his MO. Like one minute he's doing this, then it's like, hey, I'm done. I'm gonna get a band, I'm gonna go Philly Soul. I'm gonna do Philly Soul music.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
okay.
Back in the day when you don't do that jump,
No.
that arc of a jump.
No.
And to have that, you know, just to have that mind to do it, like, well, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a, fuck you, I'm going to do that.
And I'm going to wear these clothes. Actually, I'm not going to wear like this crazy. I'm going to do like, you know, because a lot of the stuff he was doing, it was kind of the zoot suit stuff that like people on the East Side, Spanish people were dressing.
Yeah.
That was their vibe. And he just picked up on that. And it's like, but that was an amazing thing about New York. It's like how, like, downtown was downtown. It was underground. It was something else from where I came from.
Yeah.
It was completely different. And obviously, being in that environment at that time. So you had, like, once again, I also went to school with the kids of, like, who were playing with Philip Glass. So you had that going on. You had dance culture going on. You had all these things, and then you had this thing of MTV, and you know, and then the beats, then the bands would come over and they're hanging out in that thing, and they're taking that and they're exporting it back with them. I want to do this, you know.
Yeah.
I want to do a chic thing, you know, and then like, and studios matter too, like the power station. It had a sound.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's so many things going on to make up all those things, you know. It's not just one thing, and you kind of had to be there.
Yeah.
So to talk about, like, you'll get the talks, but like the air of it is
the smell
impossible to replicate.
Yeah,
impossible, and that goes for England. That goes for 1900s in Berlin and in Paris and whatever was happening. You know, like we'll never know that stuff.
Yeah.
You can write about it, and and you can do all the history you want, but there's no way And it should be like that. That's what
Yeah,
gives
of
it.
course. That's why it makes it exciting and mysterious, isn't it? And then people hearing about it, they go, they've got that desire for it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it'd be like, if they could teleport themselves there, it'd be like, oh, it's just like this. But they go, oh, I wonder what that was like, which then fires the imagination. Innit?
Yeah. I mean, I was saying, I was watching that thing on. I watched a documentary about, they call it krautrock, but it was they were talking to Germans like, there was a group of people who was like, I don't want to do the blues, and I don't want to do the Beatles,
Yeah.
and we're going to create our own sound, and we're coming out of this thing because our parents took the World Goes Wild videos. Basically took the world into this perilous situation, and we're left with the residue of it. And it's not like they disappeared; they're still around.
Yeah.
And also like the question, like the angst of like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
And then that going into whatever the music that they came up with, and you get Kraftwerk, and you get all this stuff, and then you get somebody like David, and all the English guys were tripping on it.
Yeah, totally.
And they're coming from this other band. I mean, there's so many variables like that's in it. It could have possibly not have happened. Thank goodness people like David, incorporated this thing, and the fact that they were there in general, and you had these dudes with a whole nother aesthetic to how to make music.
Yeah.
And nobody will never know like how that all came about. That it's because it's a part of it. Well, at least in the last 20 years, it's kind of like a default thing. Oh, yeah, synthesizers, Euro racks, and it's like, bro, there was a psychological thing happening there to create that thing,
Yeah, totally.
Coming up in, I came up in the hood. When Kraftwerk came out with Trans Europe Express, it was over.
Yeah.
That was a huge brushstroke.
Yeah.
And obviously I Feel Love by, Giorgio Moroder and Don Summers. And, there was like these huge, like, you never heard that before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, like,
what comes out of this.
Yeah, and it's got to be youth, of course.
Yeah, always.
Because now it's on their
It's
tenure.
on them. Yeah.
And, you got all this you got super cray going on now,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got, one final question. Okay, because obviously we're doing a whole series of these things. Is there anyone that you'd like us to talk to, that you'd want to see a chat with? As long as they're not a recluse or dead. So you can't say Hendrix.
You know what? I think the B-52s have a really great story.
Okay.
I would probably set it up with either Keith Strickland or Keith, Kate Pearson, or Fred Schneider. One of the three, I mean, Cyndi too. I mean, any of them. Because their story is like pretty unique. Because it comes off as a Southern band, but Fred and Kate are actually from New Jersey.
Okay.
And they're coming up in a time in the South where there wasn't a scene, and they had their own little scene. And like we always see things from, LA and New York, but there's this thing in Athens, Georgia, and Georgia at that time, and what their take on it was. I think they have a really unique perspective on there's this bit of rock and roll that's really, I think it's kind of untold.
Yeah.
And because of just the proximity, late 60s, 70s, in this little place where Athens, Georgia, where like a lot of pop, REM came out of there, like the whole kind of college scene of that music that came from that place. And I don't think it's like the origins have really been told about it.
Okay.
I know they're in the process of working on it, but it would be interesting to talk to one of them and their take on it.
Okay. I'll get it done. I'll get it done. Yeah. I might have to see if I can get a contact off you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll send you an email. Let's not put it out now.
No, of course not. Ding ding ding. But anyway, yeah, cool, man.
Thank you so much. It's been brilliant. And hopefully
thank Jeff for setting this up.
Yeah, do you know, I did that. I don't know if I said at the beginning. I did say to him, "Have you got any embarrassing stories you want to tell me about Sterling, so I can just trip him up?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll get back to you."
There's plenty.
I know.
Thank goodness I mean, even though there's stuff out, but thank goodness there wasn't this phone.
Oh God, could you imagine?
I can only just go like, if anybody asked me that period, I was just like, blah, 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 blah. So ridiculously stupid.
Hey, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, so hopefully, in the not too distant future, I might actually see you in the flesh.
Yeah, we'd love to.
It'd be nice. God bless.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank you.